Oof. I hope that works. Okay. Okay, great. So here we are. So there we go. So there are a lot of different ways to approach painting on white and painting the shadows. So several different concepts to think about. One is cool versus warm. So here's an example of painting white garments. You have the warmer color, which is this orange color over here. And then the cooler color, which is the white and this kind of grayish color here on the far right here. And then all the way over on the very right, you see how it got cooler here? So those are two concepts to think about. If you can really grasp that idea, there are many different colors that you could use with the white garments, but I'll keep it simple, for today. So the first thing, of course, here is the drawing. So you first of all need to have a clear drawing. Once you have the clear drawing, then you know where you want to put your highlights. This one is a good example for the Christ one that we have in the Transfiguration. And this one is more of the Greek method where you have sort of the dark, the medium, and the light in very specific abstract shapes. So this is one thing. So I'm going to show you these different ways of handling it, and then you will arrive at your own particular way. But before we finish, I'll show you two colors that I recommend. So here's a really nice one. It's nice the kind of embellishments that this iconographer did with the little tiny highlights. Those would be the ojivkis that they did at the end. And here they used mostly blue, right? A dark blue for the cool colors. And then the warm, they used this kind of a yellow with the white. So you move from the cool, dark, medium, and light. And that creates volume, which is what we're using the shadows for. Remember, we're not saying that it's the source of light like the sun, but we want to show the volume of the leg. So this is a beautiful one. I love this one. And then to sort of counteract all of this blue and coolness, they came down here. This is just a fragment, but and use this beautiful warm orange color. So, I think about these things. They're just all sort of fragments to think about. Here, this would be from the Harrowing of Hell icon, the Christ robe. So here's another way of handling it. Again, very clear drawing to begin with. And then the cool colors are these inner shadows here. This might be the raw umber I'm going to show you at the end. This could be raw umber. And then this would be the probably yellow ochre or raw sienna. So this would be the warm part, and then the cool would be the raw umber. So the cool is going to recede. Pardon me. The cool is going to come forward and the warm colors are going to go back. And the white is just going to pop all the way forward. Here's another example. This could also be applied to the Transfiguration one. This is more the Greek method, which is very angular, very abstract, very methodical. So you start with your you would start with this gray color here, this almost like a Payne's gray or bluish gray. And then so this would be your first highlight, which is a bigger one. And then the second highlight would be this with more white added to it. And the third one with more white added to that. So here you have the two, this would be the cool side here, and this is the warm side over here with the orange. So it's contrasting the cool and the warm. I just go back to this for a minute. If you look at the bottom highlights here, see how he keeps those geometric shapes, the triangle, repeated triangle for highlight? Think about that, repeat these abstract triangles or rectangles as you have on the knee. Repetition, one upon another, is an important concept. Here's one that's really pretty with a lot of color. Again, comparing the two opposites, the blue, which is the cool, and the orange, which is the red. But so here, so in other words, you don't use just one color for highlights. I mean, here is this color for the highlight down here is very warm, whereas the color for the highlight up here is cool, but it's warmer than back here. So again, you have that gradation. You have dark, medium, and this one has even a lighter medium, and then the highlight. So always think of that dark, medium, and light. You want to move in that progression to give form. See over here where they did not do that? It's flat. So that progression is what gives you the form. Even down here, that little bit of highlight they put in this area down here starts to bring it a little bit of form to it. And then a little bit here, and then down here is much darker, gives that form is receding. Here's one nice kind of a sketch just done on paper. And I do recommend doing this on paper first, just sketching it out, And so here's the orange, and then with the white highlight on top of it. But this white highlight has some blue in it because it's got the coolness up here. And that's nice. I like the way, but you can see from all these different examples, there are different ways of handling these highlights, and they're all correct. They're all lovely. This one. I like the way this white is here. This is more the Greek method, very specific. They tend to, in that method, they tend to start with your basic color, which would be the rose krish, and then just keep adding white. Just each highlight, you add more white. The next highlight, add more white. So it's very clear and very methodical. And it produces beautiful results until you get to the final, just these lines at the very top of these highlights here. So it really can be quite lovely. And this is a more modern one. I prefer the older ones like the one we just saw. You just compare that to that. That's my taste, but they're all good. This is more, I don't know, it's a bit colder approach, I guess. You certainly can see the cool, it's almost all cold colors in here, but some are colder than others. So the blue, of course, is the most cold. And then this one has this orange down here, you can see they put a little bit of it in here. So this one here is supposed to come forward, and this one here is more pushed back because it's the cooler one. But this is a nice example of these folds here, of highlighting and drawing these folds here. And these I got them all from Pinterest, and it doesn't really tell you who they belong to. I love this one, it's so pretty. And just using those few colors of like the white, the blue, and the yellow ochre, how you can create highlights. That's a very loose approach. But still, if you look at his garment, there are highlights on it. It's a much looser approach than that one. Compare, right? Complete opposites. But they're all good. They're all lovely. And I think this might be the last one. So this is again from the Harrowing of Hell, but just really nicely done. And here, because they had this blackish background, um, which signifies, you know, the cosmos, the space, they could use just all white in here. So this is a little bit of orange. They took the same orange they used on her robe, used a little bit here, took a little bit of the blue from here, used it in here, but with lots of white. And some of the yellow from the face, they took over here and did the highlights over here. This is beautiful, this flowing bit of his garment here. So if you just played, you know, on paper with your colors, with some of these examples, you'll come to an understanding. You might say to yourself, like I do a lot of times, well, it's going to take time, you know, time, and I'm so busy. But once you get it, you've got it. You know, it's a concept that you'll use on every single icon. So it's worth the taking the time. And I've found for myself, if I just tell myself, well, I'm just having fun, I'm just playing, doing this, I don't get too caught up in, well, it has to be like this or whatever. Just allow yourself to do it. And start with just your basic colors, like here, the blue, the orange, the yellow ochre, and white. And I said yellow, yeah. So, so that, um, was that helpful?
Very helpful. I have to watch that again, so I'm glad you recorded it. When you're doing the cool, warm approach, uh, what's the rose krish layer?
It can be, it will be based on what colors you're going to use for your highlights. So these are the colors I was going to suggest to begin, right? Like for me, one time, just for fun, because I like color theory, I was teaching a class at Holy Cross Monastery in New York, and I was doing the horse, St. George, and I used like a Pepto-Bismol pink for the rose krish. And everybody, like, and all the monks who do icons would come in, they were like, well, I can't wait to see you do that. But just through using color theory, you can turn it white. But to be simple, to start, I recommend raw umber. So this is from the Earth Pigments, which is the kind of the least expensive one.
I haven't.
They call it natural umber, but theoretically, if you were to buy it, you call it raw umber. So I would suggest, so this would be the cool one. And for the warm one, I would use the burnt umber. So if you look at the two, see if you can see this, you can
Yes.
see that they are different. And this is warmer and this is cooler. So with the cooler one, I would mix up a tiny drop of blue. And for this one, I would mix up a tiny drop of orange. And just play with those 4 plus white. So I would, to begin, you can either start with this for your rose krish or this, either one you want. And just move along from there.
So the rose krish would be the same color, even though eventually you were going to have a warm and a cool side,
Yep.
and uh, and just as you're building the layers, your like if burn umber were your rose krish, at some point the cool side would switch more to raw umber and blue.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying? Like you're not painting half and half rose krish.
no.
Right,
No. So in other words, your rose krish, when we do a rose krish, that is our local color.
right.
So like, say if you used blue, that's the color of the robe. So here, you could start with the burnt umber, mix a little white with it, and make that your rose krish. That's the color of the robe. Then on that robe, you're going to have some areas of the folds which go darker.
Right.
Those will be cooler. You'll have some areas which will be lighter, and you'll add more white. And see, it can, all right. The reason it's hard to understand is in a way it's a little bit arbitrary. You could put orange and have warm shadows and cool highlights, but one or the other, either way. So it's not one is right and one is wrong. You make a decision when you start. I'm going to have my dark folds warm and I'm going to have my highlights cool and stick with that, or the other way around. That's why it's hard, because there's no, in painting, it's a system. That's why there are so many different systems. You pick a system and you stick with that system and it works.
And so beyond the white robe, this is true of the entire icon that you're going to pick either warm highlights or cool highlights and be consistent.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. And
Yes.
is there any way to think about that decision?
Well, yeah, you would, I mean, you pray about it, I guess, but you would look at your model. That's what I would do. I'd look at my model. Like in the slideshow, there are some models that were very, just kind of emanated a glow of orange, right? And so that, the reason it emanates that glow of orange is because it has a more orangey tint to the garment, right? If
Mhm.
it was more cool, then we'd have a more blue tint to
Right,
the base
right,
color.
right, right. Okay, okay. Thank you. Now, how can I access this recording? Because I need to watch it many times.
All right. I will put it on Patreon
Wonderful. Thank you.
and then you'll be able to see it. So here, let me stop recording now. Ah, there we go.